Counting on Jinger Duggar making podcast with her siblings. Counting on alum, Jinger Duggar Volo is back with new updates amid her busy life making podcast videos with Jeremy. The 31-year-old recently did her dream crossover with Zach and Tori Roloff from Little People, Big World. This made some fans wonder if Jinger would continue bringing familiar faces to her podcast, especially her siblings. Keep reading to see her statements. Counting on Jinger Duggar's unforgettable podcast with Zach and Tori Roloff. One of Jinger's latest podcast episodes was extra special as she talks with Little People, Big World stars Tori and Zach Roloff. According to the Counting On alum, it's been a dream of hers to meet and work with the couple, adding that both their families have a lot in common. Jinger even revealed that they would go to their uncle's house to watch Little People, Big World because they didn't have cable back then. She added that Jim, Bob, and Michelle love the Roloffs and that it was fine for their kids to watch TV as long as it's about them. Jinger making podcast with her siblings. Jinger Duggar Volo recently took to IG stories to answer several fan questions. One of them was the possibility of making a podcast with some of her siblings. According to Jinger, she does have plans for a podcast with her siblings, adding that fans should stay tuned. The Counting On alum didn't exactly share which sibling will be in her future podcast. However, there are speculations that she may consider Jill as they share the same view of the IBLP's harmful teachings. Jinger also likes to hang out with her younger siblings, and making a fun podcast with them might also do well. At this point, fans can only hope that Jeremy's wife will soon share new updates about her future podcast. Counting On Jinger Duggar hustles amid pregnancy. Jinger Duggar Volo has also been working hard to endorse her latest book, People Pleaser, Breaking Free from the Burden of Imaginary Expectations. Recently, the Counting On alum uploaded a clip of herself signing her books that will be sold in a Walmart branch on Carl Boyer Drive in Santa Clarita, Ca. Jinger will welcome her baby boy in March 2025. Aside from Jinger, Jeremiah and Hannah will also welcome their third child in the same month. Jinger Duggar Volo has always been a bit of a trailblazer within the Duggar family. From moving to Los Angeles with her husband Jeremy Volo to embracing a more modern lifestyle while still holding on to her faith, Jinger has consistently found ways to carve out her own path. Now, in an exciting new venture, she's bringing her siblings along for the ride with the launch of a brand new podcast. The concept, a fresh take on family and faith. Titled Counting On, the Duggar Siblings Podcast, Jinger's new project aims to give fans an intimate look into the lives of the Duggar children as they navigate adulthood, relationships, and faith outside the rigid framework of their upbringing. Unlike the family's former TLC show, Counting On, which was heavily produced, this podcast promises raw, honest conversations, unfiltered and real. The podcast is set to feature rotating co-hosts, with different Duggar siblings joining Jinger in each episode. This fresh format will allow each of them to share their personal experiences, beliefs, and perspectives, while also giving listeners insight into how their relationships with one another have evolved since the days of 19 Kids and Counting. Why a podcast? Over the past few years, Jinger has taken a step back from reality television and leaned into more personal, introspective projects. Her book, Becoming Free Indeed, offered a glimpse into her spiritual transformation and how she's come to understand faith in a different light. A podcast is a natural extension of this journey, providing a platform for open discussions that fans have been eager to hear. Podcasting feels like the right way to connect with people, Jinger shared in a recent Instagram post. It's a space where we can be real, honest, and unfiltered, something we didn't always have the chance to do on TV. Which Duggar siblings will join? The big question on everyone's mind is, which Duggar siblings will be participating? While Jinger has yet to reveal the full lineup, sources close to the family suggest that several of her sisters and brothers are excited about the opportunity. Jessa Seawald is expected to be a frequent guest, as she and Jinger have maintained a close relationship over the years. Jessa, who has her own YouTube channel, is no stranger to opening up about motherhood, marriage, and faith in a public setting. Jinger Duggar, the eldest daughter, has always been more private, but fans are hopeful she'll make an appearance. Her unique perspective on singleness and independence within a family that encourages early marriage would be compelling. Joanna Forsyth has been vocal about the challenges and joys of raising a family, and her down-to-earth nature would bring a refreshing dynamic to the podcast. Joe and Kendra Duggar might also join in for a conversation about marriage and parenting as young adults in the public eye. Jeremy Vuolo, Jinger's husband, is expected to make appearances, adding theological depth and insight to discussions about faith. However, not all of Jinger's siblings are expected to participate. Given the recent controversies surrounding their brother Josh Duggar and the family's split ideologies, some members might choose to stay out of the spotlight. Topics to expect. Jinger has made it clear that this podcast will be different from anything the Duggar family has done before. While faith will still be a key theme, the discussions will focus on topics that resonate with a broader audience, including deconstructing faith. Many of the Duggar siblings have undergone significant personal growth in their spiritual lives. Expect conversations about leaving behind legalism while holding on to faith. Relationships and marriage. The Duggar children were raised with strict courtship rules. Now that many are married with families of their own, they'll discuss what they've kept, what they've changed, and what they've learned. Motherhood and parenting. With so many of the siblings becoming parents, they'll share their experiences, challenges, and joys of raising the next generation. Breaking away from the past. While Jinger has spoken about stepping away from the teachings of Bill Gothard and the IBLP Institute in Basic Life Principles, this podcast may give her and her siblings a chance to delve deeper into how their upbringing has shaped them and what they've chosen to leave behind. Life Beyond Reality TV. The podcast will also explore what it's like to transition from being on television to living a more private life. What this means for the Duggar legacy. The Duggar family has been a subject of public fascination for over a decade. From their humble beginnings in Arkansas to their rise to fame on TLC, their story has been filled with both triumphs and scandals. The launch of this podcast signals a shift, a new chapter where Jinger and her siblings take control of their own narratives, free from the constraints of a network or family-imposed expectations. For years, fans have wanted to hear from the Duggar kids themselves, unfiltered and in their own words. This podcast will provide just that, offering a candid look at their lives now that they are free to speak on their own terms. Fan reactions and expectations. Since the podcast announcement, fans have been buzzing with anticipation. Many have expressed their excitement on social media, eager to hear a more transparent and modern perspective from the Duggar siblings. I love that Jinger is doing this. It's about time we hear from them directly without it being scripted for a TV show, one fan commented on Instagram. Another added, "I hope Jana joins in. She's the most private, and we'd love to hear her story." While some remain skeptical, wondering if the podcast will truly be as open as Jinger promises, there's no doubt that it has the potential to be a game changer for the Duggar family's public image. Final thoughts. Jinger Duggar Vuolo's podcast is more than just a new project, it's a statement. It's a declaration of independence, a step toward authenticity, and a way to reclaim the Duggar family story from years of carefully controlled narratives. Whether this podcast will lead to greater transparency or stir up even more controversy remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, the world is listening. As Counting On, the Duggar Siblings podcast prepares for its debut, one question lingers: will this finally give fans the real, unfiltered truth they've been waiting for? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, Jinger is leading the way, and she's counting on her siblings to join her for the ride.